Okay, let's see here. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Tonight, inshallah, I want to talk to you about a concept that I think is really important in the month of Ramadan, and that is the concept of Ihsaan. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard, I'm hoping all of you have heard of the term Ihsaan. I think if you were to ask the average Muslim, they'd be comfortable telling you about Islam and the 5 pillars of Islam. They'd be able to tell you about Iman and the 6 foundations of Iman. When it comes to Ihsaan, it might be a bit fuzzy, blurry. Like, what is Ihsaan? What does it entail? And I think a lot of people might be familiar with the definition of Ihsaan from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is commonly known as the hadith of Jibreel. And that's when Jibreel came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about the 3 concepts that are really, really fundamental to Islam. So he asked him about 3 concepts. He asked him about Islam, Iman, and Ihsaan. And you can tell from the order that Ihsaan is really the top, on the top of the list. So as we say in modern language, when you go above and beyond. And nowadays, unfortunately, at least some people's attitudes is that, tell me the bare minimum I have to do. So, for example, if you mention something, they'll ask you immediately, is this fard or sunnah? And the reason they ask, I'm not saying everybody is like that, but maybe a good number of people. The reason they ask is because they want to make sure they satisfy the fard, the mandatory, and then maybe the sunnah, you can skip. And obviously, with this kind of mentality, with this kind of attitude, they're not going to be able to accomplish Ihsaan. Now, the reason I want to bring the topic of Ihsaan in the month of Ramadan is because if we're not able to even try to accomplish some Ihsaan in our life, I don't think we're going to be doing it outside of Ramadan. Like, really, the month of Ramadan is the month where everybody is trying their best. Even the people who don't pray on a regular basis, they come and pray all the prayers. The people who've not opened the Mus'haf, the Quran, they come and they open the Mus'haf in Ramadan. So this is why the month of Ramadan is the month of Ihsaan. And as we're going to see, a lot of the activities we do in the month of Ramadan that are already incorporated in our activities are part of Ihsaan, and they would all help us accomplish the manzila, the station of Ihsaan. But first, I want to just maybe highlight the importance of Ihsaan, because some of us may not be familiar with how important and how precious it is. If you were to search the word Ihsaan in the Quran, you will find it in some places, but you really want to look for the word Muhsin. And Muhsin is the one who is living Ihsaan, the one who is, who's able to accomplish Ihsaan in his or her acts. So you're going to find a lot of references to Muhsin, Muhsinun, Muhsinin, those types of words, which is all derived from Ihsaan. And Muhsin is the one who's doing Ihsaan. Muhsinun or Muhsinin is the plural of Muhsin. If you were to quickly search up the word Muhsin in the Quran, you'll find at least 38 hits. This is how often the word is mentioned in the Quran. And I'll mention maybe a couple of ayat that talks about Muhsin and Ihsaan. One says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ دِينًا مِمَّنْ أَسْلَمَ وَجْهَهُ لِلَّهِ وَهُوَ مُحْسِنٌ. Who is better in their application of their religion? So here, deen means my application of the deen, because the deen is one. There's no different deens, right? We all have the same deen, but here it's talking about each and everyone's application of the deen. العمل يعني بالدين. So it says, who is better in their application of the deen than the one who has 2 qualities? أسلم وجهه لله. They submit their faces to Allah. So that is the element of submission, which is very, very crucial. And they are in a state of ihsan. وَهُوَ muhsin means they are in a state of ihsan. So this is not something you know, it's not a target or a goal you accomplish one day. It's actually a process. It's actually a state that you can be in. Another ayah, and it's, you know, you probably read it, you don't pay attention to it. It says, وَأَحْسِنُوا. So this is like a command to do ihsan. Because some of us might think, well, ihsan may be something that is voluntary, something that is recommended. It's a very, very high state. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, be muhsin. It's a command, just like a command to pray and fast. So, and not only that, it says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the people of ihsan. He loves al-muhsin or muhsinun. In fact, this word loving people of ihsan repeats in the Quran more than once. And that shows us that if we want to accomplish the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot just do the minimum. And you get that from the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu as well, the hadith about the awliya, man adali waliyan. If you read the hadith, I don't have time to go over it in detail because I want to cover the rest of the material. We only have 25 minutes. But basically it says that if you really want to get closer to Allah and accomplish this love from Allah, because a lot of people claim love, you know, they claim that they love Allah, but there's no guarantee for it, and it's not by claim. Well, the way to guarantee it, at least, or to strive for it, is to become a muhsin, because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised in the Quran, that if you are muhsin, Allah will love you. All right. Now the big question is, well, how do we accomplish ihsan, especially in the month of Ramadan? I mean, first we have to look at the meaning of ihsan. There's probably 3 different meanings of ihsan. One is given to us by the Prophet ﷺ directly, and that is directly related to the acts of worship. Like, how do we accomplish ihsan when it comes to the acts of worship? When I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here comes the definition from the Prophet in the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, when he said, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. You worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you see him. And if you're not able to see him, then know for sure that he sees you. So here scholars mention that there are 2 levels, in fact. And one is a little higher than the other. Both are considered ihsan, but the higher level is that you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you see him. And if you're not able to accomplish that level, then there's a level right below it, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala realizing that he sees you. And that is actually referred to as muraqabah. If you look in certain books, like for example, Riyadh al-Salihin, the famous hadith book by Imam al-Nawawi, he has a chapter on muraqabah. And the concept of muraqabah is that you realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you on a regular basis. So that is one definition of ihsan. But we have from other texts and from other evidence, we know that ihsan could also mean other things. For example, ihsan is transitive. It's not just related to me and my relationship with Allah. Okay? So ihsan is also related to others. This is why we say ahsana ilayhi. Like I did good to you. I was benevolent toward you. For example, if I did any charity, I'm considered a muhsin. Well, charity is not limited to me. Obviously, you need another party to do charity too. So that's another meaning of ihsan. Whenever you are good to others, that is a meaning of ihsan. And in fact, you find that also in the Quran. For example, the ayah in Surah Ali Imran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So when you read this ayah, you read like at the end, it says, Allah loves, again, the same word, love. Allah loves the people of ihsan. He loves al-muhsin. But then look at the qualities he mentioned that will earn you the status of ihsan. So he said, those who give, so donations and giving in charity. And he said, فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. You don't give only when you're rich. You don't give only when you're financially well-to-do. He said you give it in both ways, even when you're having a hardship. One sign of ihsan is that you still give in charity, however much you can. That's a sign of ihsan. And then he said, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, those who are able to control their anger. That is a sign of ihsan for sure. And that actually involves two things. You're doing ihsan toward others because you're not, lashing out. You're not, harming others by your anger. So that is ihsan, but also you're doing ihsan to yourself. You're doing a big favor to yourself. And this is especially important in the month of Ramadan, because usually when we're fasting, we tend to lose it faster. We tend to lose our anger faster, or lose our temper, I should say. And on top of that, the fact that we are stuck in the house now, we've been stuck in the house for a while, for 2 months maybe, obviously that also increases our temper. And some of us might be, sick and tired of staying in the same place for a long time, and everybody is in your face. So this is the more reasons we should try and experience ihsan, especially in this particular case, al-kadhimin al-ghayz, those who are able to refrain from lashing out and start yelling and screaming and all of that. So you try and control your anger as much as possible. And also it says وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and we know the month of Ramadan is the month of afu. In fact, one of the great dua you make at the end of Ramadan, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Oh Allah, you are the one who pardons. So afu is more than forgiveness. It's like a pardon. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you this, pardon of all the sins you've made, and even the ones you've forgotten about. So this is a great bounty. But we have to remember, if you're not forgiving to others, if you don't pardon others, why would you expect Allah to pardon you? So that's why it is important to think of ihsan here. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Al-afina an nas, you forgive and you pardon other people. And then you deserve the afu of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, this is great in the month of Ramadan because this is the month where we should forgive others. And when we say an-nas, people think of others, like someone who's not related to me. And unfortunately, we forget about our, relatives. Like how many of us have maybe an aunt or an uncle we haven't spoken to in ages? Some of us may not even speak to our own brothers and sisters over silly matters. The month of Ramadan is the month to reconcile our differences and to forget about the past and to open a new page. Now, the third meaning of ihsan I want to also touch upon quickly is that one meaning of ihsan is to master the work we do. Another word for it is itqan. And it's mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مِنْ أَحَدِكُمْ إِذَا عَمِلَ عَمَلًا أَنْ يُتْقِنَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Again, you see the word love here. And I tell you, it's not easy to earn the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning that you have to do something. It's not going to descend upon you just because your name is Ahmad or Muhammad. You have to do some work. But you notice that the word love comes a lot when you talk about the levels of ihsan and itqan. So here, for example, the Prophet said, Inna Allah yuhibbu min ahadikum idha amila amalan an yutqinah. Allah loves that if you do any action, any craft, any work, that you master it, that you do the best. Yutqinah, it means that you try your best and you produce the best product, whatever it is. It could be an act of worship. It could be something of this life, of this world. Anything you do, you give it the best and you produce the best quality possible. So if you're a student, for example, you do the best and you produce the best quality, homework or exam. If you're an employee, if you're a businessman, whatever it is, you produce the best quality. So a Muslim is known for that. People will recognize you and they know this man doesn't mess around. This woman doesn't mess around. They do the best in everything they attempt. Instead of doing so many things, but everything is half done and, it doesn't show any sign of perfection. It rather has mediocre or less than mediocre, quality. And it's barely good. We want good and great, inshallah. So these are basically the three different meanings of ihsan you can find in the language and in the text of Quran and Sunnah. So now let's make it a bit more practical. We gave enough theory, I think, and we give some examples already, but let me now dive into more examples. So let's talk about worship for a little bit. The month of Ramadan is the month where we want to, master our worship. We also want to do it in the way that the Prophet described, that you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if he's looking at you. Imagine, if you just can do that. Now, the catch about ihsan is that it doesn't take a lot of time. Some people think, well, ihsan, I have to set everything apart or aside, and now I want to be muhsin. Muhsin doesn't come like that. Ihsan comes from little steps, baby steps. Sometimes just adding a few more minutes to your action. Sometimes maybe doing one more sunnah that you've not done before. That make you ihsan in that particular act, or make you muhsin in that particular act. So let's talk about worship. I know, in the past we have prayed, and some of us might have prayed fast, or we'd not pay attention to certain pillars of salat. I think I mentioned it before, and I'm sure other imams have mentioned it. Now is the time to take more time. Like, for example, in ruku' and sujood. The difference between prayer of ihsan and the prayer of no ihsan is that prayer of ihsan, you take a little longer. Your ruku' is a little longer. You show some tuma'nina, some tranquility. And you don't do it so fast. Some people pray so fast, super fast. Like a chicken, as the Prophet said, alayhi salam, do not pray like a chicken. Don't peck like a chicken. Because they go so fast, into sujood, out of sujood, into ruku', out of ruku'. And there's no tuma'nina. We have to realize that tuma'nina is a pillar of salat. Meaning salat may not be accepted if we do it so fast. But I'm not just saying that you do it a little slower. No, take, 1 minute extra, maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes. Those 5 minutes, they're not, they're in the scale of a day and how much time we waste. 5 minutes are nothing. But imagine if you added 5 minutes to that ruku', or even 2 minutes, your salat will be totally changed. And as a result, you become a totally different person. That's what we want from Ramadan. If we're going to exit out of Ramadan the same way we entered, then Ramadan has not benefited us. So these are great opportunities, and now we have no excuse. You can't say, well, the imam didn't allow me, right? Likewise, in sujood, we know that this is the closest we are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Great time to make your favorite dua. So do it and take more time and feel the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ وَهُوَ سَاجِدٌ, the Prophet told us, the closest you are to Allah is when you are in a state of prostration, in sujood. So these are things we can do, and they're not hard to do in order to improve and enhance our salat experience. Obviously, praying on time goes without saying. Especially in the month of Ramadan, this is one opportunity to fix that. If one of us, for example, was not able to pray on time, was not able to pray Fajr on time, or maybe was slacking in the other prayers, now is the time to fix that and to put a stop to that. Now, in order to have ihsan in the month of Ramadan, what's beautiful about Ramadan is that you have so many opportunities. So you don't focus on just one thing. So here I want to mention few small things we can do, very little. And I'm sure the Sheikh have mentioned them before, but I want to mention them in the context of ihsan. To show that ihsan is not this huge goal that no one can conquer, that no one can reach. Rather, it's the small things we do here and there in order to get closer and closer. So it's a process more than a goal. And this is something about the Prophet ﷺ. If you study his sunnah, you find that the Prophet was not necessarily celebrating a particular goal as we do today. Like the way we live our lives today, the way we conduct our lives, is that always we're shooting towards some targets. And once we accomplish them, we enjoy it for a few minutes, we celebrate, and then it's gone. It's like we feel the void again, like nothing has happened. The Prophet and how he conducted his life was more process-oriented, you could say. Like he's watching every step of the way, and he was trying to improve every step, and he was enjoying that process. Instead of like, you think you're not going to enjoy anything until you reach that goal, that mirage that never happens. You got to be able to enjoy the fast, every moment of it. Not just, for example, when you break fast. Of course, I mean, there's a big farha, there's a big happiness, moment of joy when you break fast. But that moment, by the way, is not just because we're eating. It is because we were able to accomplish that goal the entire day. So those baby steps we took in the day, like persevering and making the ihtisab every time we feel the hunger and thirst, we think of the reward and we know that we're not doing it in vain, that there's a great goal, that there's a great aim, there's a great cause, and we're doing it for the right reasons, then every moment is validated and justified. And then you have the grand happiness at that moment of iftar. Rather than being angry and unsettled the entire day, waiting and asking, what time is it? It's 2 more hours, 1 more hour. If you do it like that, you're not going to enjoy fasting. Yes, you might enjoy iftar a little bit, but you're not going to enjoy fasting. And I tell you, in the fasting itself, there's a joy. I mean, some companions used to enjoy the hunger itself because the focus was not the hunger itself. Really, it was the feeling that you are getting closer to Allah and benefiting yourself, your own self, in that act of worship. Some companions used to miss the fact that they used to fast in the long summer days. I know we're celebrating that now Ramadan is moving toward the spring, and alhamdulillah, we're not as strong, we're not like the companions, so I'm not beating us, but just to, think about this. That's really interesting how the Sahaba were. So a few things we can add to our Siyam experience when we break fast, for example. I know we all know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that إِنَّ الصَّائِمِ عِنْدَ فِطْرِهِ دَعْوَةٌ لَا تُرَدُّ, right? That the fasting person has a moment, it's like a window. It's not just one moment, like it's not just 1 minute. He said, at the time of iftar, it's an open opportunity. It's a window of opportunity. He said, if you're making dua at that time, Allah will not reject, Allah will not turn you away. He will answer your dua. And imagine this is every day in Ramadan. Now, I know in the past, you might have said, well, I was in a hurry. And a lot of times I've forgotten, by the time I finish iftar and they pray, Isha in the masjid at 8 o'clock, and I live a bit far and I have to bring my tea with me and I barely had any dessert. Now you don't have that excuse. You're the king, you're in the house, you can pray anytime you want. Take advantage of those opportunities that in the past did not have the time to do. So carve some time out to make a dua, maybe 2 minutes, few minutes. Again, I'm not asking for hours, and that's the beauty. You're adding few minutes in ruku', few minutes in sujood, few minutes after iftar to make the dua. If it's too busy in the house, in the kitchen, get out of the house, maybe go in the backyard and make that dua. Or when you pray Maghrib, for example, after you break fast, again in sujood, make that dua, or maybe in the sunnah of Maghrib. Those little things will definitely improve your experience and will enhance your ihsan. Another great opportunity is the time of suhoor and sahar, the late night, or the time right before fajr. Again, I know some people who would say, well, back then in the other Ramadans, I cannot wake up on time of suhoor because I have work. If I wake up, I have to wake up several times and it's going to interrupt my sleep. So what I do is I eat suhoor and sleep. And maybe at the time they were justified. Of course, they should not miss fajr. But now, again, you have this great opportunity because you have, again, you're the king, you're working from home. So you don't have to worry about commuting to work and, doing all these things. Make sure you take advantage of that time. If you want to sleep at night or not want to sleep, it's up to you. But make sure the last part of the night, those, precious, 30 minutes or 45 minutes before Fajr, wake up, make istighfar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the people who made istighfar. And again, could be few astaghfirullah. But now you're counted as al-mustaghfirina bil-ashar. And then, you have a small meal. It doesn't have to be major. And the Prophet ﷺ called it al-ghidha al-mubarak, the blessed meal. So again, it's a small touch. It could have been dates or anything else. You can eat anything you want. And then you pray Fajr on time. So my point is, all of that is important to make ihsan. It's the totality of your actions, not a specific action. I want to end with one act of ihsan that should also explain or give you an example of the third definition of ihsan, which is to be good to others. So now in the month of Ramadan, we all, like I said, we're all in the house, and we all need to help each other. Think about ihsan, doing ihsan to other members of the family. If you're the husband, make sure you're helping your wife. It's okay to cook in the kitchen. And there's no shame in it. And now you're doing 2 acts of ihsan because you are doing ihsan to your wife so she's not overwhelmed. And you can also do mastery in your cooking. So it doesn't have to be, rash and fast. Take your time, pay attention to details, maybe get some recipes from some online site, and do it right. And when you do it, again, maybe a few more minutes to measure the amounts properly, because cooking, takes a lot of, attention to details. You have to make sure you're paying attention to details. But in the process now, you've added few minutes. You've made ihsan not just to your spouse, but also to your dish. And now everybody is delighted at the time of iftar, and inshallah, they'll thank you for that. I mean, obviously, this applies to the women as well, that since you're there already, do ihsan and do it right. And, again, the few touches you add is what makes a great meal. It's not necessarily adding an hour, right? We know that very well. It's maybe adding a few minutes and paying attention to detail. That's a great opportunity to do ihsan in the month of Ramadan. In fact, also using some clever ways to save food and not to waste food, that's also part of ihsan. Obviously, that also applies to children, to come and help, if not in the cooking itself, in the dishes, right? To help, keep the house in order, because it's not a one-man job or a one-woman job. It's everybody's job. The Prophet ﷺ, again, used to help his wife in the house. He used to do his own things. He used to take care of his, sewing of his clothing and fixing his shoes and all of that. I'll wrap it up here. I think I have a minute or less. I probably said a lot of things, but inshallah, what I want us to take out of this is that don't think that Islam is super hard, and that, in order to accomplish ihsan, al-muhsin is someone who is far above my level. It's got to be some super pious man or woman. Don't think that Islam is something unreachable or untouchable, or that it is reserved only to the awliya of Allah. And this is a problem in our education. We've taught, the Muslim masses that al-wali is someone who is isolated, maybe in a house and wearing a certain some particular type of clothing, and that they don't talk to people much. And that's really the wrong picture of a muhsin, of a wali. A wali could be any one of us. There's no way I can tell who's a wali. I mean, you might think a wali is someone who has a particular look. Not necessarily. We don't know. So that's a problem, I think, in education. We have delivered the wrong picture of a wali. A wali could be any one of us. Anytime you and I are attempting to be muhsin, you are getting closer and closer to being a wali. And this is not a particular group of people. It's any Muslim who's trying hard to be good. Likewise, when it comes to ihsan, as you've seen, I hope I delivered this notion, this idea that ihsan is possible, that everybody can do it. You just have to put a little extra time. And it's not this unreachable goal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not give us something we cannot accomplish. It is those small little steps and those small little habits we can add in our day that can make us muhsin, or can make us muhsin in one area. Because I tell you, it's not just black and white. I mean, you could be muhsin in one area, but not the other. We always have to improve. But I hope that at least you agree with me. And inshallah, you put it as, as something you're going to do, that ihsan is possible and it's accomplishable by everybody. And that you don't have to go out of your way. Rather, you just have to add a few things and take a little bit more time, pay a little more attention to what you do. Even when you recite Quran, take a little bit more time, ponder the verse, not just like, say it so fast, you don't even remember what you say. So it's all about taking a little bit more time. A time you already invested, a time you already allocated. You just, pay attention to that, inshallah. And that's all I want to say. Jazakumullah khair. And inshallah, now if we have any questions or discussion.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh Anas. May Allah accept our deed, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, if you have questions, please feel free to ask Sheikh Anas directly.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sorry, I removed my mic, so now I can hear you. Before that, if you spoke anything, I could not hear you. So.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sheikh Anas, I have a quick question for you. The dua is accepted after we break our fast, and should we keep only one specific thing to ask, or we can ask multiple things that can be accepted? Thank you.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ was not specific. It seems like you can make any dua you want. In fact, I recommend that you kind of diversify your dua. Some people, for example, only pray for like materialistic gains, like, oh Allah, give me a better job, oh Allah, give me this and that. I think you should diversify the dua in the sense that don't forget your parents. Pray for your parents. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon them. Don't forget your children. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them. And also you might want to kind of like plan it, have a wish list. Like what do you want from Allah this Ramadan? It might be 5 things. So you can focus on those things because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also likes that we insist in dua, al-ilhah fi dua. So ask it once and say it didn't happen. So if you want something really bad, you ask it every day. So that's part of your list. But it doesn't have to be limited to one. No, inshallah, I think. And the Sheikh can correct me, but I think it's open. You can say, say as many dua as you want, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. On that same note, the timing for dua, does it start from before the breaking of the fast and runs a few minutes after? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, there's no particular, no precise timing. If you look at the wording of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ لِلصَّائِمِ عِنْدَ فِطْرِهِ دَعْوَةٌ لَا تُرَدْ. The fasting person has, like Allah allocated for us, this time of dua, and it says at the time of his break and fast. So he did not specify. He did not say 2 minutes after. He did not say 5 minutes. So really the time surrounding the fast, the breaking fast, sorry, the fitr, which is the breaking of the fast. So it could be immediately when you break your fast. It could be after you drank your water or had your dates, or maybe when you pray Maghrib or the Sunnah of Maghrib and Sujood, or after that. This is still around in the vicinity. So it's like in the vicinity of breaking fast. Now, an hour later, yeah, now it's kind of away from the time of breaking fast. But as long as you're around the vicinity of that time, then it's okay, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to add something about this, Sheikh Anas. What I studied, that the narration عند فطره at the time of iftar is not authentic, is weak. And the authentic narration is the one which is during the fast. إِنَّ لِلصَّائِمِ دَعْوَةٌ لَا تُرَدْ. And there is a hadith also, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا تُرَدُّ دَعْوَتُهُم. 3 people, their dua will not be rejected. المسافر والوالد لولدها وعلى ولده والصائم, and did not specify time. So
okay.
This what I believe, yeah, inshallah.
I remember at least in Bulugh al-Maram, the hadith that he mentioned عند فطره. But yeah, I'll take a look again. It's in Bulugh al-Maram. I'm assuming that anything in Bulugh al-Maram is Hasan and above, but
Yeah, actually, some ulama made it Hasan, okay, Hasan لغيره. No. But the correct opinion is that it is weak. It is not authentic narration. And actually, it is good for us because if the dua accepted the whole day, then yeah, the room is more, mashallah.
Yes, inshallah.
Okay. Yeah, someone asked a question here. Is it okay to listen Quran recitation while working in the kitchen?
Why not? I mean, so when it comes to Quran, alhamdulillah, we have a lot of flexibility. So we have, for example, the reading from the Mus'haf. That's one option. And that itself is a virtue, to look in the Mus'haf and read. Another from Mus'haf. So that in itself is virtuous. Or you can listen to yourself. So you recite and you listen to yourself. That's another thing, right? Obviously, that's the the way. And then you can also listen to someone else, and the Prophet himself did that. And he said, I like to listen to it recited from someone else. So you're in the kitchen and you want to multitask, right? That time is already taken to do the cooking. The only thing is try and make, pay attention. What I don't like is that if there's a lot of commotion, like there's a lot of speaking, a lot of talking in the kitchen. So you might be having a conversation with someone else and the Quran is running in the background. I don't like the Quran to be a background sound or noise because you're not listening. Because also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, فَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. It's a command that if the Quran is recited, that you listen to it. So that's the only requirement. If you're by yourself and you're listening, of course, it's recommended that you busy yourself with the mention of Allah, and listening to the Quran is no doubt part of that. The only thing is, if there's a lot of talk and you're talking to someone else and you're not listening to the Quran, you just put it in the background just for sound effects, then that's a case where I don't like it. I don't know if it is haram, but now you're not really obeying the order of Allah to listen to the Quran when it is recited. And this is something I have a problem with. I've seen it a lot, unfortunately. Like even those people who sell, they used to sell those Quranic cassettes in the masjid, and they would display it outside of, like after Jum'ah, outside the masjid, and everybody is talking, no one is listening. Now the Quran becomes like music, like it's played in the background to attract you. This is not the Quran. If it is recited, the main requirement is you listen. If you know you're not going to listen, or you're not going to be able to listen, turn it off. It is better to turn it off. It is disrespectful to turn the Quran on and listen to something else, and your attention is not the Quran. Now you are disrespecting the Quran. So that's what I know. Allahu Alam. If Sheikh has anything to add. But
another brother asking another question. So he's saying nowadays he calls Adhan, Maghrib Adhan from his from his home. So, and he's also fasting. So does he have to break the fast before calling the Adhan or after calling Adhan?
Breaking the fast is signaled by the sunset. Now, Adhan is another signal for other people to break their fast. So if I don't want to look at the sunset, then I rely on the mu'adhin to give me that signal. Okay? So this man is doing both. So he's already satisfying the condition. He's already looking and making sure that the sunset has already happened. So of course he could eat before he makes the adhan. And in fact, even the mu'adhin in the masjid, you notice they break their fast before they make the adhan, because they already checked and made sure that the time has entered. And that's all you need for breaking fast. All you need is to make sure that the sun has set. But again, like I said, the adhan is good for the people who did not want to check or did not want to look at the sun or something like that. Then they use mu'adhin as a tool or as a medium to tell them that the sun has set. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay. Another question: in Ramadan, can we pray tahajjud with some people in our home, like we pray Taraweeh prayer?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You do what is better for your soul. Some people feel more spiritual if they prayed on their own, and some people like the jama'ah. We know the concept of jama'ah for Taraweeh was established initially by the Prophet in a very limited setting, and then for sure in a wider setting by Umar radiallahu anhu. So since that time, it was legislated for us to pray, because usually sunnah, we don't pray in jama'ah. That's well known. Maybe few sunnah or few recommended prayers might happen in jama'ah. In this particular one, we know the Prophet did it both ways. He did it by himself and he did it with a group of people. Even in some cases, he would pray in the house and people, or pray maybe in the masjid, and some people in the houses that are close to the masjid would follow his prayer. So you see a variety in that when it comes to Taraweeh. So it's optional. If you think it's better for you, like it will encourage you to pray by praying in Jama'ah, then you do it in Jama'ah. It makes you more disciplined because you have to follow, someone else. And if you have enough energy to do it on your own, then you can do it on your own.
Assalamu alaikum. To that point, I have a quick question, Sheikh. So, for example, in the beginning of the night, if we pray Salatul Isha and then the 8 rakah of Salatul Tarawih and then the 3 rakah of the Witr, after that, can we wake up and do the Tahajjud during or before or after the suhoor time? Thank you.
Yeah, just a second. I have to give the stand to someone else, and I'll give you the. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so it is better that we delay the witr to the end of our prayer. The Prophet ﷺ told us, "Ij'alu akhira salatikum fil layli witra." Make the last prayer of the night witr, meaning odd. Now, this is the preferred way. It happens sometimes that you pray witr and then you have an opportunity to pray more. It was not planned ahead of time. You just get the opportunity. Maybe you finished witr and you thought you're not going to pray, and then someone else came and said, let's pray, or you went to the masjid and you saw a jama'ah you liked and you prayed. That's fine because you did not plan it ahead of time. It was an exception. But to always do it like that, to always pray witr and then later pray tahajjud, no, then in that case you should delay witr because of the hadith that you make witr the last prayer of the night. So it's okay to break the rule only if you did not know about it, you did not plan it ahead. You can do that, make that an exception. But the rule is that you pray witr at the very end. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Sure.
The last question is, one brother asked, if my prayer, if I am distracted from my prayer, does it mean my prayer invalid?
No. Obviously, well, it depends what we mean by distraction. But obviously, no one of us would be able to focus on the prayer 100% all the time, like in every prayer. We're humans. So by default, by definition, we're going to be distracted sometimes. And we are lucky the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ. He did not say الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ. He did not say those who are distracted in salat. He said those who are distracted from salat, they're the people who are in trouble because they don't pray. That's what it means if you're distracted from salat. Distracted in salat is human. This is a human nature. We're going to be distracted in salat. And so that does not invalidate the prayer, but it might diminish the reward of the prayer. So that's what happens. The reward will be diminished. In fact, there's a hadith to the effect that you'll get from the prayer as much as you pay attention to. So there's a hadith that says you pray and only half of it is accepted, or a third, or a fourth, all the way up to a tenth. So that is because it's proportional to the attention you give in salat. But regardless, that does not make it invalid in the sense that you have to repeat it. No, it just means that the reward is diminished. So the more attention, the more reward. The less attention, the less reward. But it does not affect the validity of the prayer itself.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh Anas. Brothers and sisters, we are running out of time. So Sheikh Anas, please go ahead and lead the dua, inshallah.
Yeah, actually, I do have to run myself. So my dua will be very short. جزاكم الله خير بارك الله فيكم. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا صيامنا. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا قيامنا. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا. والسلام عليكم.
Okay, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining. Inshallah, please come back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and since then, assalamu alaikum to everyone.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.